Nigeria is mainly divided into north and south. And each side of the divide, of the political divide, pursues its socio-cultural, religious, and political agendas. Northern Nigerians are predominantly Muslims, while Southern Nigerians are predominantly Christians. In my view, and the view of many critical or inquisitive readers of Nigerian dailies, some reports in Nigerian dailies or newspapers seem to be biased against some people or groups, and this causes public unrest sometimes. Therefore,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Osman. Because we very tight on time. We were given very tight time. So I'm going to ask you to try and condense it because we've read your proposal. But if you can say in the sentence that I said, and I'm taking the sentence here, I am studying A, so the topic that you're studying, in order to find out.
No.
In order to
What
find
I'm trying to
out
study is
B. So if you can, if you're able to, if you're able to capture it in one sentence, and I know it's difficult, but that is part of the exercise because it really helps you to test yourself on whether you are clear on what you're studying, what you're trying to find out, and why. So are you able to do that in literally in 2 minutes? Can we try?
10 minutes.
Sorry?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so let's try that. Yes, please. Okay, so
okay. What I intend, what the study intends to achieve is to look at the way some of the pictures and cartoons in Nigerian newspapers and how each of these cinematic resources and other stylistic devices are used to achieve some elements of biology and to let the readers of my work possibly know that people need to be extra careful about some of the items they read in newspapers, so that not to be they are not made to react in a way that will threaten the peaceful existence of Nigerians and I think no, that's how far I can go.
Okay. There's background noise. I don't know where that is. But because I think everyone is muted, so I don't know where the background noise is coming from. But anyway, so okay, so you've given us the first part of your response. Can you then tell me the second and the third part? The second part is what aspect of your proposal are you currently finding challenging that you would like advice on? And then the third part is there anything in the written feedback that was not clear for you?
I would like you to educate me on one, the issue of tampering, and possibly
issue of please speak up a bit. Issue of
hello.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. One of my challenges is the suitable theories or theory that use to my aim. And I need more education on this idea of planning.
Planning?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you mean planning? Do you mean the work plan?
The work plan, yes.
Work plan. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you for that. So firstly, I'll respond to your questions, and then I will tell you a bit about what I thought might be tricky with your proposal, which I already wrote.
Okay.
I gave you feedback, and I think you received the written feedback already on it. So I think I'm unfortunately not able to advise on the appropriate theories, because from what I gather from reading your proposal, you are working from the disciplinary focus is linguistics. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
unfortunately, I'm not, my knowledge of linguistics is very basic. It's very, sign and signifier level, like undergraduate linguistics. So I won't be able to give you advice, direct advice on the content, especially at the level of the appropriate theories. When I read your theories, I mean, they sounded interesting to me as an outsider because I'm not in the discipline. So I thought they were solid. I thought they were interesting, but I'm not a disciplinary expert in linguistics. So I will not give you advice on that, because probably a linguist would tell you something different. So from what I read, they look coherent, they look like they make sense, but it's not my discipline, and I won't pretend that it is, because I don't know enough about that. Then in terms of the work plan, what wasn't clear to me, and I'll have to check again, but what wasn't clear to me was what exactly you're planning on doing. I'm assuming that you already have a PhD in linguistics. And two things were not clear to me. One is whether this is a PhD project that you want to convert, revise, or whether it's a completely new project. The second thing that wasn't clear to me is what is the product that you're working towards? So are we talking about a book, or are we talking about a series of articles? And it's something similar I said to the other members yesterday, that it needs to be clear to your reader that you're proposing to study this topic, and the end game is you're going to produce either, say, 3 or 4 journal articles, or you're going to produce a book. So that wasn't clear. Now, once you've decided what you're going to produce, then you would be able to develop your work plan. And remember, you have 10 months. So you need to split up that 10 months with a realistic plan of between, let's say, January and February, end of February, I will do this. Mid-February to end of February to end of May, I will do this, depending on what is left to be done.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, I'm not a PhD holder.
Sorry?
I'm not a PhD holder yet.
Oh, okay. So were you around for the presentation yesterday in the morning around eligibility?
I was, yes.
You were, okay. So then if you listen to Professor DiPio's presentation, then you probably heard that the AHP fellowship from this year, actually from last year, they changed. Previously, they used to do dissertation completion for PhD students. From last year, it is only postdoctoral. So unfortunately, you will not be eligible to apply because you need to already have your PhD out of the way. And then you're now applying towards postdoctoral research.
Okay.
Yes, but that should not discourage you in any way. I'm assuming then, is this your PhD project right now?
And in fact, what I intended now, I want to change it to articles. Initially, it was my initial plan is to have it, to use it as my PhD topic.
Yes.
But along the line, I decided to change it. But I still want to work on it, see the possibility of having some articles out of it.
Yes. So, and what is your PhD topic? Even if it's not exact, just roughly, what are you working on for your PhD?
What I'm is a critical semantic study. Hello,
Yes, I'm listening.
My proposed PhD thesis topic is a critical systematic study of selected online media reports and reactions on socio-political issues in Nigeria.
Okay. Okay, so to a certain extent, there are certain overlaps, but not
Yes,
quite.
not quite, yes.
So I think, look, your supervisor would be best able to advise you on this. I certainly see nothing wrong with you working on this as a journal article while
Okay.
you're busy with your PhD. But if I was your supervisor, I would strongly advise you to focus on your PhD.
Okay.
Because if you're doing your PhD on a different topic and then you're also doing a different topic for publication, something is bound to suffer.
Yes.
And the thing that will suffer in this case is your PhD, and you really don't want that to happen, because
Yes.
once you have the PhD, it opens a lot of doors, and it allows you access to so many other fellowships which are restricted to people who hold a PhD already. So what I would do in your shoes is to actually channel as much energy as possible towards the PhD, unless if you feel you are satisfied that the PhD is on track and you still have the energy and time, then you can do the articles on the side. But before you're satisfied that that is the case, I would strongly advise you to focus on the PhD, because even if you do get the publications out, assuming you work on these and you publish, let's say, 2 articles out of this project, when you reach out there to apply for things, whether it's a job or a fellowship, people who already have their PhD completed will be given first priority over you. You see, so in fact, even with jobs, many universities these days are insisting that all staff members must have a PhD. So it's really important that you focus on the PhD, get it out of the way. But if it's not going to suffer, then you can still proceed with these as a journal article or 2 journal articles. But just try and prioritize the PhD. That's what I would do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I think it is a very interesting topic that you have there. And even though I'm not a linguist, I really enjoyed reading the proposal.
Okay.
So I think you're on, and you write well, so you're on to something there. But I would strongly prioritize the PhD.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else that was not able to join us yesterday? I have one more proposal that we didn't discuss. That is Dr. Elizabeth Onogu. Are you here with us? Dr. Onogu? No? Okay. So I think we have a few minutes. Can we take questions? You can just unmute yourself and speak, or you can type on the chat. Any questions either about yesterday or today? Because after this, we have the final roundtable. So, but I can take any questions about either yesterday or today's discussions. I think Dr. Longdet, at the beginning, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Prof. I wanted to say something.
Yes, go on.
I actually wanted to ask a little bit of clarification on Professor Emielu's presentation. He mentioned that when you are writing an abstract, you should take into consideration mentioning the objective, the problem if possible, methodology, findings, and conclusions. Now, I have a question here. You're trying to do a proposal, and the proposal is to carry out a research. And if you're going to write this abstract, it is assumed that the research is not yet done or partly done, but not completed. So how will you frame the finding in the abstract?
I hear you. I think I probably heard him differently. I think he was talking about in the case of an article, and he was giving the example of a journal article that he was working on. But with the application, there are very fixed parts of the application, which are the parts that are listed the ones that I discussed yesterday, and they're listed in the program
Yeah.
and under my session. And you'll
Yes.
notice that there is no mention of an abstract. So
Abstract.
we don't
Yes.
have an abstract.
Okay.
In place of the abstract, we have the main thesis.
Main
So it
thesis.
sounds like an abstract, but it's different from an abstract because an abstract normally accompanies completed work. So
Okay.
even when in our own writing, a lot of the time, we may do an abstract for a conference paper and all of that, but actually, when you're submitting an article for publication, you
Yeah.
probably write the abstract last. In the same way with your PhD, you probably wrote the abstract last
Yes.
because it's summarizing everything that has already been done. So that's why it's distinct from the main thesis. So in the application, we don't have an abstract, but you have a main thesis which does something loosely similar, but not entirely, in the sense that it gives a very summarized overview of your proposed project. And the objectives is that this is what I'm investigating. These are the core issues that I'm preoccupied with, and this is why this is relevant. And then you go on to unpack it in more detail, the other parts of the proposal. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so yes, there's no expectation of you to flag your findings already at that time.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, most welcome. Any other questions or comments? On anything that needs clarification, either from yesterday or today? Or any other issue that you probably think is relevant that we've not discussed yet? Yes, Dr. Kaffer?
Yes, good afternoon, Prof.
Afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Prof.
Afternoon.
My name is Kaffer.
Yes.
Yes, I need more clarification based on your recommendation on my topic. Looking
so there's some background noise, and I'm not hearing you very clearly. So if you could lean closer to your mic, please.
Okay. Yes, like I was saying before, I need more clarification. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Now. Yes.
Okay. I would like you to give me let's sort of a replay of your contributions or your recommendations for me going into interpretative costuming rather than doing a creative output.
Okay, so what I was saying is, since in the current framing of your project, the end product will be a creative product. It will not be a scholarly product, even though your journey towards that is a scholarly journey. So what you need to think about is, if you work backwards from your target product, then your target product needs to be a scholarly product. So either journal articles, which I would recommend, or a book. So if you decide to go with journal articles, since you're interested and you've already done the work on the challenges around recreation of Eastern Nigerian culture, traditional Eastern Nigerian culture in period dramas, maybe that might be what you want to focus on, because you already have it there and you've already done some of that work. So part of what I would do in your shoes would be to reframe that, to narrow down on that aspect of the project in terms of investigating potentially, again, I'm not prescribing the topic or anything like that, but just saying maybe investigating the challenges around the recreation of traditional Nigerian dress culture for cinematic use. So you see, because you already, in a way, we are flipping it around, because the genesis of this project is your observations, what you noticed about the challenges that Nollywood period dramas have around depicting authentic costume for traditional dress. And as you say, part of their challenge might be that there are no reliable records on this. So maybe that, then if you reframe that into your actual project, then you think about what questions you want to engage in relation to that, what questions interest you about that topic, and then completely reframe it to narrow down to that topic, which is already partly embedded in your proposal, except your proposal was going in a different direction. And so it's literally redirecting your proposal towards a slightly different destination that is more scholarly. Does that, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Because it really is an interesting project, and it's a fresh take on Nollywood. Because for many of us who watch Nollywood dramas, I don't think I'd ever thought seriously about the question of the costuming of the period dramas. And when I read your proposal, it got me thinking of period dramas in Hollywood and how much effort is put into the dressing of the people so that they look like the period within which they're supposed to be representing. So I think it's definitely a potentially interesting project, but the current framing just needs to be slanted a bit.
Thank you very much.
Okay, shall we take one last one and then we can move back to the main room? If there's any one last question. You seem to be very quiet people today. Yes, Mohammed?
Yes, ma'am. I request for a summary of some of the things you were able to discuss with some of my colleagues yesterday for my own benefit, since I was not able to join you yesterday.
Okay, so a summary would be tricky because we covered a lot of ground and we were giving feedback. So in the breakout session, I gave feedback to 4 of your colleagues on their specific projects. And then in the main session, we had 2 presentations, one by me and one by Professor DPU. I believe that they are recording, and I see even this current session is being recorded. So what I would do in your shoes would be to ask Professor Ejia for the recordings, and I'm imagining that he's going to circulate them. So maybe that would be the best way, because it wouldn't be possible for me to recap all the discussions that we had yesterday.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, but at least they're being recorded, so I'm sure you'll be able to access the recordings. Okay. Do you have a word for us, Dr. Songden?
Not at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Yes.
So I'm assuming we are all pretty much happy and we can reconnect with the other room. Is that the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. IT, are you with us? IT support, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, thank you. We are now finished. So if you could help us move back to the main room. Okay, so everyone, please stay online and wait for the message to rejoin the main room, just so that we don't lose anybody along the way. But I believe IT will set that up for us and relocate us back to the main room. Okay, yes, thank you, Prof. Longdet, and thank you for all of you for sharing your work, which I really enjoyed reading, because a lot of the time we only read on topics that are relevant to our immediate interests. So it's also enriching for us as mentors to just read other people's ideas and get a sense of what the debates are in other fields. So thank you very much for sharing your work with us. And I wish you all the best with your applications and all the best, Mohammed, with your PhD. I hope next time we meet, we will be talking about you as a PhD holder and hearing about your publication plans. And thanks everyone else for participating.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we'll wait for IT to send us back to the other room then. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hello, IT.